One of the concepts that caught my attention all through all three books is this notion of good profits and bad profits. And as a result of this conversation, I'm really thinking about, in arts and culture, good revenues versus bad revenues. Bad revenues would be, you could achieve top line extraordinary growth in annual or multi-year revenues by wringing more money out of your patrons through fees, through loyalty manipulative ways, which is just not even a word, but or phrase. Those are bad revenues. Those are bad profits, right? What's the difference?
Yeah, that's when you focus on just financial outcomes, there's a lot of behaviors you can do that look smart financially, but they're actually destroying the loyalty and the future of your organization because they are resented by your customers. And a good example is, I think financial service firms are famous for this, but they'll do stuff to you as a customer that they can get away with because if, let's say you're a bank, it's really hard to switch banks. All your financial
United
records
Airlines,
or an airline, because if you're in Chicago and they're the only ones that have flights to Des Moines or whatever the example is.
Yeah.
So they can just do stuff and get away with it and think it's smart. Yield management systems gets the most price for every ticket, but then you start to think, but my customers never trust me and they actually resent me, and I have public relations disasters because when there's a hurricane threat, my yield management algorithm boosts the price of tickets, so people fleeing a hurricane now can't afford it.
Right.
And it's horrible, and your employees are embarrassed by it. So I think anything that you do that looks financially smart but embarrasses your employees deserves a very careful.
There's the thing, if it embarrasses your employees.
Right.
Because the flip side is that there are revenue management practices, there are smart business practices
Absolutely.
that don't negatively affect the customer. So in our field, part of the feedback we'll get is, we don't want to do dynamic pricing. We are nervous about creating parameters under which certain patrons only get access to certain things, because it stinks of elitism and it makes us nervous about it not being fair to everyone. And so, but it's not either or. Does it negatively have an impact on behavior with the customer?
And as long as you're teaching your employees about this mission and enriching lives and what that means, as long as you're having these conversations about are we living our values or aren't we, I think you get the right path. If the conversation is only about are we going to make our budget or not, and I know in any organization that's stressed and is struggling, finance is the red blinking light that's got your attention, so you're going to respond aggressively to that. But if you take these steps that are really anti-golden rule, it's just going to accelerate your demise, because good people are not going to stay with you, and the mediocre people who are going to stay with you aren't going to be inspired to do a good job. So it's just a mess.
Lives positively affected versus lives diminished in values.
People go the second mile when they're proud of the outcome and they innovate and they give it their all. And I think any organization needs that inspiration and innovation. Bad revenues, bad profits, they are certainly the enemy. On the other hand, you have to be practical. If there's a certain set of customers that are bringing in a ton of excess cash flow, you have to take that into account. And it's not elitism, it's reality.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. It's a both and. And what I'm hearing is, you've got to regularly ingrain the values, which in arts and culture, thankfully, are undeniably good and undeniably around serving a community. So if you keep the conversation and the measurements central to that, so that if you're undermining that, That's when you have to pay attention. But not everything undermines that.
No. And I think if you can have your employees always thinking about this intelligent kindness, what else could we be doing that would just really be appreciated by our audience? Either make them a better experience or proud to be associated with our brands. Because if you're doing outreach and teaching kids, this is all good.
Yeah.
It makes your customers proud, not just your employees. And there are just so many thoughtful, kind, nice things. And anyone who's just in their own experience as a consumer, they're seeing all these brilliant ideas. Amazon is doing cool things. Uber is doing cool things.
Yeah.
If your mindset is, I'm going to pick those and see if I couldn't use them in our own world, that's the goal. And it's fun. But that's a mindset of, my job is to create more promoters, fewer detractors, in an economically sustainable way. As opposed to, my job is to make this economically sustainable any way that I can.
Yes. That's a great synthesis of the nexus that this field is at too, because it's true in business for sure. But if you're running an arts and cultural institution, boy, do you feel like the pressure is to make sure that the business can operate and be sustainable. Boy, do you feel that.
Any business model that is under stress, it's going to show up in the financials, and the response tends to be financial. It's not, not going bankrupt is vital, and yet it's not going to get you on the path back to greatness if you just respond to those blinking lights.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, a few of the blinking lights are going to be exactly the wrong thing to do. In economics, you talk about consumer surplus, this notion that some of your customers are paying way less than something is worth to them. If you put a lot of your creativity in how to pull that extra out, I think it's counterintuitive. It takes you down the wrong path. You want as much consumer. You want to leave money on the table and because that's what makes customers promoters. They're getting way more than they paid for. And the benefit is they tell their friends, they come back, they're good to your employees, they build your brand. That's how you build the volunteer army.
It's a plus.
So I think in every case, employees should be searching for ways, how could I do something that really delights? The thought we talked a little bit about measuring satisfaction as opposed to loyalty or net promoter score. Well, I think satisfaction is a flawed measure. Satisfaction as a word means you gave them enough, but no extra. Satisfy. There's no more emotion or energy at that point once you're satisfied. That's not the goal of a great organization. A great organization tries to create energy and loyalty and promoter behaviors in their customers. And so satisfaction is too low a target. Creating a promoter is an economically rational target and a spiritually it makes you feel like your life is worthwhile if you're trying to serve others so well that you're enriching their lives and turning them into promoters and earning standing ovations. That it seems like a small difference, but it's actually a huge difference. I think too many companies think of financials as the objective that's being maximized, and you have to satisfy at a certain level, but you don't want to give too much. And I think, no, flip that. Economics is a constraint, but where there's infinite ability and it should be the target of innovation and progress is enriching lives and delighting your customers, your beneficiaries.
Standing ovations.
Yeah.
I mean, the metaphor fits, right?
Right. and at arts, it's ironic. Apple uses this standing ovation idea. I gave a talk. Apple gets all its store leaders together once a year from around the world, and I participated in that a couple of times, and they gave me standing ovations. I felt so great about that. But it's memorable.
Yes.
And artists get that.
Yes.
But most of us don't.
Yes.
On the other hand, they talk about their net promoter score. The stores with the highest net promoter performance earn ovation awards. So they're getting the idea of performance and the rewards you get as a performer that earns a standing ovation into everyday life. And I think my son, when he sees a 10 and a comment that is really praising him, he is getting all the powerful benefit of a standing ovation, even though he's helping people fix their iPhones.
There is a here about the standing ovation that we as leaders, as employees, are striving for, and everyone in arts and culture.
But that's what artists want, right? They want a standing ovation.
They understand.
Well, Net Promoter just gives you a way to get that in every dimension of your operation, whether it's maintenance or ticket sales.
Yes.
When you get a 10 from a customer, that's the energy that should flow through here.
Yes, and it has the downstream benefit of doing so much more, if I'm hearing you, than just annual results. It is friends, it is lifetime value, it is commitment to caring about you and creating with you, co-creating with you even. So there's such good to be had. Listen, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Applying these concepts to arts and culture, there is going to be a leader or a half a dozen who says, I want to go here. And I look forward to telling you about that. I look forward to learning along the way and hopefully helping arts and culture see the benefit of orienting around impacting lives in measurable ways.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and I do my own life mission. I certainly want this to work in business, but nonprofits and arts organizations, especially in healthcare and education, I think this notion of how you measure and build systems around the true objective, it's a very exciting opportunity. Has a long way to go, but I think we're seeing real progress. More than half of the large companies in the world now use Net Promoter as a measurement process. I hope that's the government in the U.S. at least has started using Recommend to a Friend as one of the ways to compensate hospitals and providers. I think in a mixed way, but I think we've made the progress where people know what it is, see the importance. We can now actually fine-tune it a little bit and get it to be the thing that really does make me proud. And maybe we have to change the name to Net Lives Enriched.
Right. Your life's work, though, I just am saying to you, that's huge impact. Huge impact.
Sort of, there's so far to go. I have so many car dealers are begging for 10s, and it's misused in so many ways. But I feel like I've really got a shot to make a difference now. Because the virus has spread. Now if I can just get the virus to behave a little better.
The next book, the next edition, the next phase. Thank you.